So I'm in the green room. And there's a freaking owl in the house. I don't really want to walk under it. I know it should be fine. Like it's, maybe I should just go for it. Maybe this is stupid, but there we go. I can just go straight into the next room. How incredible is that? Man, this room feels so much bigger now. It's so much bigger. Like it's all of that. And there's going to be cabinets and kitchen. And then this is going to be dining room. And that's such a big improvement. And there's just going to be so much more light coming through as well here. There we go. Front and back window. Just one continuous space now. That's amazing. That is amazing. We've got the second hole in now. So we are open up into the back room. That's going to be the kitchen. And we are also opened up into the hallway. So that only adds visually, what's that, 3-4 feet? Just that little space in the hallway there. But it makes this room feel much, much more open. And also it makes it more of like like a communal ground floor. So whenever anybody comes in from down here, you're going to be able to see people coming in that front door from the kitchen. Like when you're actually in the kitchen all the way, even with this door shut, you're still going to be able to see people coming in through the glazing. So that's pretty cool. I'm pretty happy with how this is looking. The one major botch up, if we stand underneath here, you see that this is a very thin lintel. In fact, it is thin because this wall is brick on edge construction. So it's only a 75mm thick wall. I almost mentioned the light fixer earlier to say if you break it, you'll be doing me a favour. But unsurprisingly, it got broken. It's actually so nice now being in this room. There is so much light coming through just the whole space. Once this green is gone as well, it's going to be kind of like an eggshell blue with a gold ceiling or copper ceiling. So there's going to be a lot more warm light coming in, bouncing around the space. And yeah, just the whole thing. It's just so much more airy now. And it is it's a genuinely big space as well now. I think this is what we got. We got 16 feet wide by 26 feet long, give or take. But that's like 8 meters. So I've got around about 5 by 8 meters in this room. Now this is going to be blanked off. There's going to be glazing, but it's going to be clear glass, not stained glass. So that's going to be just essentially visually open into that space. Man, this space is just so much better now. So much more usable. I just keep walking around it, imagining with the kitchen cabinets, different colour, and just really detailed differently. It's going to be so much better. Another job struck off the list. It's time for me to get going again. Another weekend. So this time, we have these openings, they're now finished. This wall needs some consideration. Because of it being brick on edge and actually being an old stud wall, hence the timber in there, what would have happened is it would have been lard and plaster originally, but they lost the lard and plaster before plasterboard was invented. So what they would have done is just infilled the studs with bricks, which is why it's brick on edge, because it needed to fit between the timbers. And then they plaster over the front of it to give it the rigidity. Problem with that, obviously, is that wherever you have a stud, you have bricks butting into it all the way up, which makes it very weak to lateral impact. In fact, this over here, because we've removed the door frame, which was the stud, we've been left with just a single stack of bricks butt-edged against that corner. So there's a lot of things in here which are very concerning structurally. This wall is not structural at all, so I don't need to worry about it actually knocking anything down. But obviously I don't want to lose my beautiful cornice coving. Yeah, it's just one of those things, isn't it? I want it to be secure, obviously safe and usable. If it was just a stud wall, then I could have done away with that lintel and just built the stud around it. But hey ho. Just need to make sure that I make it secure now. Yeah, and then I can clean up the edges around this one, get that angle grinder, just cut that straight, and then knock off any loose plaster that we've got on these walls. So I won't take it all the way back because I can avoid it. On this front wall, I'll have to replace it because that corner is super damp, or was historically very damp. But I think the rest of the room, I can probably leave it as is. So for today, I believe it is about to start torrentially raining. It looks very grey and we're getting thunderstorm alert. And to celebrate, I am going to trim the garden. As you can see, it's very overgrown. The last time I cleared it was a couple of months ago. It's been full sun, summer, perfect weather for growing grass. So it is time to try and get it a little bit cleared again. Here comes the rain. Just taking down my outside downpipe. This hopper is completely full. When I removed it, it was literally hanging by this group of roots in here. And you can see that all of the wood in these sections is just full of roots down here. The gutter's done now. It's a bit of a rough job, but at least the water is now going to the right places and the render is patched up. So that is all now going to hold together. This drain I removed on the outside, so that's no longer connected. Obviously there's no sink here anyway, so it doesn't matter. Some of the lead pipes coming out of the bathroom sink and bath, they're pretty badly split actually, so turns out a lot of the water does go down the wall, down the windows. Fortunately not much is actually being used in terms of water going through, so I think it's going to work out fine. It's only going to last me until next year, really. This year is just about stopping the bad things from happening to the house, stopping it from getting any worse of its own accord, and just generally patching stuff up. For example, that outhouse behind me, obviously I got that cleared a few months ago, but that is just awaiting demolition. Hopefully next week that should be coming down, so I need to get a few things organised for that, just to make sure everything's going to work out nicely. So, things to do. I need to double insulate this with big sheets, so I need to get a load of those bought. Currently without my van because the front wheels fell off, so that's a little bit inconvenient while I'm trying to get stuff done, trying to get stuff moved around. What I'm going to be doing right now is removing the plasterboard from these studs. So I'm not actually going to be removing the studs because I want to keep up the ties, but for now I can just start working on cutting these out and seeing what is in behind them. So what I'm interested in doing is just getting off this wall so I can see through and basically make it a single large volume. Still don't know where the door's going into the ensuite, but that's something I need to work out pretty soon because I need to know that before I start putting up the stud partition inside that space. So for now, let's just start getting the hammers out. We have got this all opened up now. There's obviously these studs, these are not where the final studs are going to be, that's going to be further in. I've moved this doorway entirely actually, so the top bar, when that was part of the frame, you see the doors come off. I'm probably going to get rid of it. It's in such bad nick down there, like there's just pieces missing from it, it's gouged out, so I'm probably just going to get all new 4-panel doors throughout the house because I can get them in a similar style anyway. I don't really want to have to change the look and feel or the character of the original property. Started managing to take down that ceiling, so the whole section in that room that was the yellow room, that's gone. There was a lot of mess on top of it from the roofers. That was the lime, like putty stuff that was behind the original slates. And then, obviously in the hallway, you've still got the hatch up here, but there's a lot of lath and plaster. So that started to come down. This entire wall section next to the door, that was lath and plaster, and if you just squeeze through, then we have this part here as well that was lath and plaster next to that hideous door. And I think actually this door is the most offensive thing in the property because of this. I'm pretty sure that is blood, but how did it get on the top rail, like the top of the door frame? It's awful. So yeah, I'm very dusty. There's been a lot of progress, a lot of mess. I'm gonna try and get some of this stuff all sorted and swept just to make it a little bit nicer when I next come back. We're getting there. We're getting there slowly but surely, making progress. Right, so I'm just inside where the outhouse used to be. You can see the scratch coat just in the wall there where we've taken out the roof, and the back wall was actually solid reinforced concrete, so we've left this in rather than me needing to rebuild one, because I'm going to be having a heat pump here. So it's just to shield the neighbours a little bit and give them a little bit more privacy back. So today, just removed this section of tree stump, and now what I need to do is actually fill back in this boundary just to make sure that they have all of the boundary that they had before, basically. I don't want it to be disrupting any of my neighbours doing this work. I know it's noisy and it's messy, but at the very least I can let their properties stay intact. It's just starting to rain now, but I might still get out and just do this bit. It shouldn't take me too long. I had another groundworks guy come today and give me a bit of a chat about the drain, so I can get that booked in real soon. I think the next week or two I can get that booked in, get a date set. So it's all moving ahead. It's just such a big mountain, but although it does feel like it's diminishing. You know, getting those last few jobs done, getting the holes in the walls made, getting the outhouse down, and then soon getting the drains done. You know, these feel like such big jobs in terms of where the house is going. There's so many bits that are happening, and those ones are the ones which are too big for me to touch. So, you know, like the roof, the openings, the outhouse, those I really needed professionals to just come in and take them away, because frankly, if I tried, I would have died doing those bits, especially taking down that outhouse. That concrete slab in the roof was crazy. It was 6-inch thick of reinforced concrete. So just a real big job for them to cut that out and take it away. But, you know, it took them half a day, cost me a few £100, so it was a real good deal. They left it super tidy, very happy. So I just need a break in the weather. The rain's just started coming down now. But to be fair, until then, what I can do actually is in this room, this is where we have these rotten joist ends, just up here. These final 3 are actually pretty bad. However, it shouldn't matter because I'm going to be creating a structural stud partition. I've got some 3x4, which is like 75 by 100 mil. I'm going to be making just a really thick stud partition, about a foot out from the wall. Fill it with shelves, make it a bit of a utility space. Obviously next year I'm going to be getting the heat pump, water tanks, all of the plumbing and everything in here. I was thinking about house batteries as well, which I might get done. Seems like things are happening, which I'm really happy about. Would I recommend anybody else buy a house like this? No, I wouldn't. There's so much cost and stress with a property like this. And you really got to be able to just do a lot of the work yourself. When I was buying the house, a lot of people said to me, oh, do you have family who are builders? And I just thought that was like a polite inquiry. But genuinely, if you're going to buy a renovation project, make sure you have family who are builders. And if you don't, then buy a regular house that you can modify if you're so inclined. It has been so difficult for me to find people who are trustworthy and skilled to do work for me. I thought I'd found one, but then he took a lot of money off me, very exploitative, and that has, that had a really negative effect on me. I was getting valuations done on a house to see if I could just sell it. And I've had it for 6 months, It's not like I've been here forever. So it's one of those things. You just got to make sure that you can trust the people who you're giving thousands of pounds to do the work. That's really what it comes down to. And you never know until you've hired somebody for a bit if they're actually trustworthy. And listen to your other builders as well. If you find somebody who's good and trustworthy, then they're going to know people who are good and trustworthy. If you found a builder and they're like, oh, I can't really recommend anybody, don't use them. Because if they don't know anybody, it's because nobody likes them. Yeah, just really, be careful about your contractors, because you're spending loads of money I've been saving up for 10 years. Since the start of COVID, I've been living with my parents, so very low rent, and just saving and saving and saving, working 60 to 80 hours a week. I've been trying to get as much money as possible, blood, sweat and tears. So when somebody comes along and exploits you and takes your money, it's very, very demoralizing. But also you need a lot of money to be able to do a project like this because it is going to cost you thousands. And this is why I would say buy a project house that is livable. You know, don't buy one like I did that genuinely needed stripping back to bare brick. It's not a good idea. I can't live here, so I can't actually test my ideas about whether I'm going to so for example, like the kitchen, I don't know if the kitchen diner is a good idea. I think it is, but I'm designing it visually. Until you've actually lived in a place, you don't know if that's actually really annoying to go through that door every time, and maybe you want these the other way around. Maybe you actually want to move something so that you can have a view that you particularly like. It's difficult to know. You just gotta, I mean, I'm stuck in this situation. I just have to go with what makes sense and what I can afford and what I can wrangle in my head. But yeah, my recommendation would be to just buy somewhere that you can live in and test. Make sure you have builders that you know and trust, and start off with a shit ton of cash because it's going to be fucking expensive. A lot more expensive than you can possibly imagine. Also a lot more time consuming than you can possibly imagine. Because I thought before I bought the house, yeah, it's going to cost me 80 grand and it's going to be a year before it's finished and I'm moved in. 80,000, that sounds like a lot of money. That's, a lot of money. But so far I spent 50,000. So, well over half. And in terms of the number of jobs, like the high value jobs, they're done. They're done. Okay, so the costs are going to be coming down from here on, but the actual volume of jobs, man, I've got at least 2 more years of this. If I work hard. I can't take any more annual holiday from my job, which means I am just doing this at weekends. However, my other job that I also have to do to make sure that I can earn enough money to stay ahead of all of the bills, that also has to be done at weekends. So I can do like 1 day a week. It doesn't get done quickly. And you've just kind of got to be in it for that. Priorities. That's the thing. You just gotta have a sense of your priorities. You gotta know what you want, and you gotta know what you're willing to give up to get there. We'll see where I am in the future. Hopefully I get it all done. Hopefully it doesn't break the bank. We'll see. I am halfway through building this stud wall here, so you can see I've got those 4 in. They're the worst timbers. Certainly those end ones are really, really soft. I was thinking I was going to have to, be really careful because I don't want to move any of the timber or get it shifted at all because I'm underneath a really heavy slab of concrete, and if this collapsed, it would kill me. But then that timber is so compressible, so I just had to get within like a millimetre, and then I could just knock it in. And it's probably done some good because it'll have taken up some of the compression, or the compression will have taken up some of the slack in the timber, brought it back to something which is a little bit more structural because the fibres are, for the most part, still intact longitudinally. I've just gone straight up to these and drilled a screw through there. But yeah, I didn't see the point in doing a top crossbar because the way that grain has strength is lengthways. So timber is much more compressible side on than it is lengthways. So doing my stilts, as it were, this way is going to be a lot better rather than just having an additional horizontal. Seeing as these are already horizontal, it just didn't seem worth it. However, with the exception of this one, which is, you can see that crack there in the render. This is where my outrigger, this becomes an external wall. And at this point, we have a junction with the neighbour's house, so they have a wall going off in that direction, which means that all of this is an internal wall. That's important because it means that these timbers are not rotten and will unlikely ever rot. There's just never any water there. So the worst they can get is insect damage. They don't seem to be having any problems at the moment anyway. there is other timber in here that is in a much worse shape. So what I'm thinking is if I just put in my final stilt here on this one, which is, it's dry, it's really good timber, doesn't seem like there's any compression there. And then the next one and the next one, maybe I don't put in a vertical, because these are quite bulky verticals. You've only got 360 mil between them. What's that? For give or take 14 inches. So there's not a lot that I can put on shelves. If I put in noggins, like I was going to put in a, obviously there's a bottom one. I've put damp-proof course around that, and then I can put a bottom shelf in. I can have a third of the way up and 2/3 of the way up, and just basically use the noggin height as the shelf height. But I was thinking, just basically this section here, rather than having 14-inch shelves, 360 mil, of which I will have 4 sections over there, so there's going to be 1 additional. I can just have a section here, which is just basically going to be a meter of open. And I thought that might be a good idea, because then I can actually have some usable shelving space in this room. Also, behind all of these noggins, I've intentionally brought them out from the wall. They're about 20 mil out behind. Sorry, 200 mil out behind. Reason being that I need to get them away from the wall in case damp comes through the wall, and also because I don't want to be supporting right under the actual rotten bit. I had to bring it up to where there was a little bit of structure in those timbers. So what does this mean? Well, that is going to be a spider trap. It's going to be so messy down behind there. So what I might want to do is actually just board this section out. I think that might be a good idea. I've got some marine ply upstairs, so that's really good with wet, in wet environments. So I could literally just board full height up to the ceiling here. And then around that return, and then I've just got an enclosed section that I don't really need to worry too much about then. It's not going to become unsightly. And next to it, in this part, I can just put in some meter-long shelving, which I think should be fine. I've got some bits of 2x3, which I can use. And actually, if I'm not doing those noggins there, then I can do long noggins. Yeah, which seems like a good idea. So yeah, anyway, that's what I'm thinking. I'm going to change the plan slightly just because these timbers seem all right and I want the shelving. This house does not have much storage. It's a big house, but the entire space is used for accommodation, and the basement is wet, so it also can't be stored. Yes, there we go. So progress is being made. It's noisy, but it's easy enough to be fun. You can just kind of switch off your brain and work. Here we go. This is the final thing. Got those shelves sort of marked up in there. There's a lot that I still need to work out with how we're actually going to be joining things together, but yes, that is done. So the framework is done. The floor above is secure, doesn't feel like it's moved, although there's definitely some spaces underneath the end of those joist ends now, although some of them are awful. Some of them are such a mess. You can just see, I mean, this is a gap as big as your finger under there, but this is just, there's nothing, there's nothing holding up this like 3-ton floor above me. It's a good 6 inches thick of concrete on top of these really badly rotted out boards, and there's this much space where there used to be timber. So at least in terms of my own sense of satisfaction with the house, whether or not the house is actually in bad shape or not, but this is a big move on making this feel like it's gonna last as long as I do, which is what I want. I want to be able to live in this house for as long as I want to. I don't want to be pushed out by structural problems and things like that. So I think it's looking pretty cool. There's, these were just the ones where it was rotten, like I said. So I did remember to put on the battens along the wall. Very nearly didn't. What I'm planning on doing, this is my main water coming into the house, and then it comes up and across this ceiling. So what I want is to reroute this to the new kitchen. Doing so will stop all water in the house though. That's going to be a little bit challenging. Until I've done that though, I'm not going to board this bit out. I will board the front of these, and I really should have left them forwards by the thickness of the ply, but never mind. And then I will do this reveal as well going back, and I'll just cut that around these, because I'm using these as noggins. These are going to be structural. I mean, they're literally 100 mil thick. They're enormous. So definitely going to give some strength to the wall there. I just need to hoover up, pack up, and go home, and that is me done for the day. So I did that bit today. I removed this tree, and I built a little bit of fence frame here. I'm going to put on a panel just to give them the same style of that like timber overlap that they have the rest of the way over there. It is moving forwards. I mean, it feels slow, but at the same time, I'm going as fast as I can based on the time that I have available. Obviously, I need to stay ahead of it in terms of earning. So yes, it's just one of those weird projects. I don't really have an urgent timeline on it, which is nice. Because I don't, it's not like I'm expecting a baby at some point, and so I need to have a house ready by the time the child comes. Nothing like that. So it's just me basically just pissing about with this house, having a bit of fun with interior design and getting a little bit back into woodwork, and just generally being practical, because my job and hobbies and everything that I do outside of work are all computer based. So everything I do is fake, which makes it nice to make things like this, and I can go home at the end of the day and be like, that is a thing that now exists.